Hello guys, today we're looking at the Ecoflow River 3. Here she is. Now, the one thing I want to touch on is right on the box you'll see that it says 600 watts. That is the surge ability, right? So this is a 300 watt inverter unit, 230 watt hours, and it does have the X Boost feature, which is going to let the unit surge up to that 600 watts. So if you're planning on running something that is over 300 watts of running, then this is not going to be a big enough unit for you. Now, a couple more notes on the specs. This does have the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi connectivity. Really good thing to note there. Not all units of this size is going to have Wi-Fi. Some of them don't even have Bluetooth. So I'm going to give you some comparison options. Number one, Bluetti AC2A. That is going to be something that is of similar size and price. And then from Pecron, they're going to offer the E300 LFP. And then from Jackery, you're going to be looking at the Explorer 240. So those are going to compare to the Ecoflow River 3 in size and price. Now, pricing on this guy, it retails for $239. For sale, which it is currently still on sale, depending on where you buy it from, the Ecoflow website has it advertised at $179. Retail $239, sale price $179. I have seen it at other websites a little bit cheaper than that, so make sure you do your shopping around, but you can get this unit for cheaper if you are getting it during the sale. Otherwise, let's just get into some of the other features. So a quick unboxing of the unit. There you go. As you'll tell, it is pretty small. So we're gonna get into what is included into the box really quick. You have the AC charging cord, and a thing I like about this is that it just has the more versatile charging cord. You can probably find a cord like this connected to other devices in your home that you might be able to use. I would say that if you ever had to replace this, this is a good thing to note. It's not a proprietary cord to be able to charge the unit. And then the other cord you're going to get is going to be the 12 volt adapter, and it is going to plug in to the side of the unit here where it charges. And then we'll go over what that looks like here in a second, but just the two cords, the AC charger and then the DC charger. Again, I did mention it in one of my short videos, this does not have a cord to be able to charge it with solar panels, so nothing to connect the solar panel to the unit. So something to keep in mind. Other power stations do offer an additional cord, so something to keep in mind if you guys are looking to charge this with solar. And then the user guide and the quick setup guide is included in the box as well. All right, so just kind of looking at the size here, you're gonna see you have two AC outputs here, and then you have three USB options in the center. You're gonna have a USB-C and then two regular USB-As. And then over here, you're gonna have your DC barrel plug to be able to charge things there. All right. Now, another thing you'll notice, pretty common, but I just like to mention it, the DC inverter has its own power on option button, and then the AC has its own power on. And then one thing that I will note, the USB-C option, I don't know about the USB-As, but the USB-C is able to charge items without having either of the inverters on. Now, not all power stations are created that way, and I like that option because, as you know, you're going to have some power loss just by having the inverter on. So in this case, the inverter does not need to be on to be able to charge things via USB-C, and that should save you some power loss. So a really good little note there. And if you take a look at the display, you can see that it doesn't have any color to it. It's just got the white and black, and so it's easy to read. That's the important part. Okay, we touched on what other units might compare to this size-wise, but I want to try to give you a size comparison to something you may already have in your home, just to kind of give you an idea. Yes, this is a pretty small unit, but how small? I can give you the dimensions, but what does that really mean? So let's get an item. All right, 5 gallons of gas can. Big difference here, but let's get something that is maybe a little bit more comparable. So this is a pretty common item. You may have this. Here is a 1 gallon gas can. So as you can see, the unit is shorter than a 1 gallon gas can. So pretty small. This is a pretty small item. And that's just to kind of give me an idea of how small this unit is. And then touching on the weight a little bit, this thing is going to be less than 10 pounds. Less than 10 pounds. So really easy to move around for those that are wondering about that. Now I'm going to try to get a close-up view for you guys so you can take a look at all the different sides and see what's going on. All right, just getting a close-up view of the unit. Again, you have your AC outlets here, your on and off inverter, got your USB-A, USB-C. This is a power delivery USB-C up to 100 watts. Another USB-A, your DC inverter on off, and then your 12-volt barrel plug. All right, now coming up to the top here, it is nice and flat. So if you needed to stack some items on top of this, depending on how portable you're gonna be with it, that's nice and flat. And then it's got this handle back here that's really easy to grab. Lots of room for your hands. All right, easy to grab even if you had gloves on your hand. So in the situation where it's really cold in the shop right now, and if I needed gloves, I'd be able to grab that, no problem. All right, turning the unit to its side. Okay, this is going to be our input ports. All right, this little flap here. Now, I do want to note, this is a sturdy, so not flexible little hinge here. And that is how you cover this, okay? Not magnetic, it snaps into place. All right, probably my number one gripe about this unit is this right here, because I do worry that it's gonna catch and break. One thing I wanted to note there. All right, now here on the side, you'll see this is where our inputs are. So you're gonna open this little door and it's gonna expose the AC input and then your, what would be the solar input, or if you had an external battery that you would be able to connect it to this right here as well. One thing to touch on with charging this unit up, these are the two options. This is usually AC and then that's gonna be for your solar. You could recharge this station off of another power station that has an AC outlet, and then you would just be able to use this. You don't only have to recharge this with the solar if you're using an external battery. Another power station could act as an external battery. And one thing to note too with this thing is that this does not have battery expandability built into it, right, from the manufacturer, where it's plug and play, but you can recharge this off of other items other than the wall or the grid. Okay, I want to touch on that. All right, now coming around to the back here, we got nothing. There's that handle again, like I said, plenty of space. Okay, and then coming on to the other side, just another vent for the fan. And then on the bottom, it does have the rubber feet, which is nice, and then it has the specs on the bottom. So that's what the close-up view of it looks like, just to kind of give you an idea. So nice and smooth and small unit. All right, so getting back to the unit itself, I did do some testing. I tested the use on a couple of items. Now, sure, this can charge your laptop, this can charge your cell phone, this can charge small communication devices like walkie-talkies, radios, your cell phone, and then other things. Like, what I wanted to know was, what other than those small devices can this unit run? And the number one thing that I had in mind was my refrigerator. Now, you might not think refrigerator when you have a unit this small, but it would cost a lot of money if I had to replace the food in my fridge if I was unable to charge it, or excuse me, power it when the grid went down suddenly, right? And if this is the only unit you have, then you're gonna wanna be able to use this for anything and everything that it can power. So that is one of the things that I did test. Unfortunately, it could not power my refrigerator. Now, I have seen other people be able to power their refrigerators that are a little bit more efficient, and maybe the power surge isn't so high, and they were able to run it. So do your homework on your fridge and what the power draws are. Again, this is a 300-watt running inverter with a 600-watt surge. Now, what I find very interesting is that my refrigerator, not being the most efficient, but also not the most inefficient, it normally runs between 140 and 180 watts, and that is within the 300-watt running window, right? Now, the 600-watt inverter for the surge, I did have the X Boost feature on, and it still was not able to run my refrigerator. So my thought is that my refrigerator is just surging higher than that. I couldn't catch a wattage higher than 300. So I find that very interesting. But I wanted to note that because that is real world testing. This was unable to run my fridge. So as disappointing as that was, I would have been pleasantly surprised if it was able to run it. Now, this being only 230 watt hours, I don't imagine it would be able to run my refrigerator for very long, but I wanted to bring that to your attention in case you did have that in mind. All right, now the other test that I did was I wanted to see if this could run my Wi-Fi router and security cameras. Now, that is something that I'm thinking about hooking up, is to have basically the UPS feature, which this does offer, operating off of my Wi-Fi router and my cameras. So that way, if the grid does go down, I still have internet access. And more importantly, if the grid goes down while I'm away from home, the Wi-Fi and my security cameras will still have power, and I will be able to access my cameras away from home because the Wi-Fi is powered. So that is kind of what I'm going for here. Also, this is going to play on the portability side of things, right? It being so lightweight, what things can you do remotely? Things that are normally bound to the home or to a wall with an AC outlet. Now, those of you that work from home or do a lot of work on the laptop or things like that, you're kind of stuck in an office space. Some of you might be able to take your laptop out, but for how long, right? This is going to be a really good item to bring with you if you want to do like a little desk setup outside somewhere. Sure, maybe not in the working environment or if you're at work or traveling through town, but let's say, for example, you're at home and you just want to do some work outside on your front porch or your back porch or even in your backyard. If you have a table set up out in the grass, what if it's a really nice sunny day out and you just want to get some work done but you want to be outside? You put this unit next to you and you'll be able to charge all your smaller devices, including your laptop, no problem. And then now you have an outdoor office. So that's kind of a neat idea. Something that I had in mind was I wanted to make a heated blanket portable. Now, I do have small children, and we like to take them for walks in the stroller, maybe go to the zoo, even in the colder months. Maybe go for a walk for some Christmas lights. We did do that this last winter. So this would be able to provide them with a little bit more warmth that would be less concerning for having them outside for long periods of time. Again, they are small children, so you can only bundle them up so much before they become super stiff, like the kid from the Christmas Story movie. If you know what I'm talking about, then all right. This is going to provide some options when you're talking about portability. Okay, now I did do a test on a heated blanket, and we're going to get into some of that testing now. Okay, just checking in after 1 hour of running the heated blanket. Now what we're doing again is just seeing how long this can go, right? So we did initially start the test on the medium setting, but the blanket was actually warmer than I would consider to be comfortable. Now, the initial startup is great because it got really warm really fast. But then what I did was I threw it over myself, and if it would have stayed at that level for a length of time, I imagine that I would probably start to break out in a sweat. It was that warm. Now, that was on the medium. There's even a high setting even on top of that, right? So what I did was I actually lowered it down to the low, and it is still nice and warm. And I think that that is a much more reasonable temperature. Now, you'll notice I have the blanket just draped over the bed right now. But what I think you could also do is have this in between some sheets if you were gonna have it in your bed overnight. If you were trying to run this in a grid down situation, this is a really good way to stay warm on top of your body heat and not having to use a space heater. And then even the AC option isn't even the most efficient way to use a heated blanket. DC is actually more efficient. AC is just what I have. And then my use case, again, I'm thinking about using this in like the stroller for my kids when we're taking walks out when it's really cold, or having to do shopping like grocery shopping, or maybe clothes shopping and it's like an outdoor environment. I want to be able to take something like this on the go, where it's much more convenient to have a power station that can run either a regular heated blanket AC outlet or even a DC, like if you already have one for your car, being able to run either option. And then obviously longer walks in the park, you have USB, so you can recharge phones and maybe tablets for the kids if that's something that you do. Yeah, so there's some use cases there to think about. But in my current scenario, I'm thinking in a stroller. That's why I have it just on top of the bed here. If it was in between the blankets, I imagine I could very easily run this on the low or even the warm setting overnight, and then it might even last even longer. But we're gonna continue with the low setting. I switched it from medium to low in the first 15 minutes of the test. And right now we're checking in at 1 hour, sitting at 76%. I am gonna guess that we're gonna be able to run it for another 3 hours at least, and 4 hours altogether on the low setting is a pretty good length of time. If you're thinking about overnight, you could turn the unit off and on when you get desperate. Maybe you don't have to have it on all night, but it's just kind of a good idea to know how long I'm able to run the heated blanket, right? That's why we're doing this test. We're doing a little bit of a rundown, and then something to have a baseline for when I'm comparing this to other power stations. So I also did a test with the Wi-Fi router and cameras and monitor, and I was able to run that for 6 hours. And with the heated blanket right now, it looks like we might be able to get 4 hours out of it. So just a couple of options for a power outage situation, using the power station for something other than just recharging USB devices or laptops and stuff. So to kind of give you an idea. All right, we're gonna keep testing, and we're gonna see if we can get the full use out of the battery here, or the controller isn't too warm. So I imagine that it's gonna keep running until there's no more battery left. So we'll keep going, and we'll check in another hour or so. All right, coming up to the third hour, 52% remaining. This is actually very similar to our Wi-Fi router and camera test, where we got about halfway for 3 hours, and if nothing else changes, we should be able to get a solid 6 hours out of it. So again, we left it on medium this whole time, and the blanket again is just sitting on top, nice and warm. So definitely a reasonable amount of warmth coming from that. So yeah, 3 hours, 50% left. So we will actually skip the next hour and we will check back in 2 hours from now. We'll be checking in at the 5th hour. So we'll see you then. Okay, here we are 2 hours later, 5 hours altogether, 15% left. 5 hours in. Very curious to see how much we have left. Should be interesting. All right, we'll check in as we get closer to the end. But I do think we'll get a 6th hour. We shall see. All right, so there's the results for the heated blanket test. So kind of keep that in mind if you're thinking about making a heated blanket more portable. Another option I have is my wife likes to use the heated neck warmer. So it just goes around like your shoulder area, and that can be made portable now as well if it has a AC plug-in and it's not a DC option. So I know that there are DC options for both the heated blanket and the neck warmer as well. But if you already have heated blankets, now you can just carry this around and make it more portable, whether that be in the car or maybe at a sporting event, watching children doing something, things you can take out to help keep you warm. That makes things really interesting. So another neat idea is, let's say you have a hammock, you really like the hammock, but you want to go hang out in your hammock in your backyard, and you can take your heated blanket with you. So just some neat ideas that the portability gives to you. And then now we're going to get into some of the testing that I did on running my Wi-Fi router and my security cameras. Ecoflow River 3. Gonna do some initial testing. I got my Wi-Fi router and my security cameras hooked up to this power strip right here. I want to see how long we can run that. This is just a good idea if you needed to back up your Wi-Fi and your Wi-Fi is not close enough to maybe doing your main power station where it's doing the heavy lifting, or maybe you just want to run Wi-Fi during a power outage and nothing else. And this is a small power station that you can get your hands on. So this is saying it should run it for approximately 10 hours at the current draw. Not sure if you can see that. There we go. Let's just see how long it goes. All right, quick update. Looks like it just took a second for the River 3 to adjust for its estimated time of running. So it was at 10, but now after running for a couple of minutes, it is down to 6 hours. So 6 hours looks like is what we will probably get out of this pull. And we'll just check in again here in a few hours. We did start at 10 a.m. So we'll just see how long this goes. All right, we are doing a 3-hour check-in, 52%. So it does seem that the original 6-hour estimation is pretty on. So 52% remaining at the 3-hour mark. Started at 10 a.m. It's now 1 p.m. I will say you can see that the Wi-Fi is blinking there. This is running the Wi-Fi, and I seem to be having a lot of disturbances, a lot of interruptions with our TV that runs off of the Wi-Fi. So I'm not sure if whatever is going on here with the AC supplying the power is running off and on in the background, trying to conserve energy when it draws a really low amount and it's like jumping off and on. That has been a problem. So I'll continue to test that as we're using like the TV in the house and then my laptop for Wi-Fi connectivity to see how that goes. But here we are. I am able to connect to my cameras wirelessly through Wi-Fi while I'm not at home. So when I do check into that, it is working, but like the TV keeps cutting in and out, loading screens, things like that. So All right, 3 hours in, we'll keep going. All right, just a quick update, 49%. So right after the second update, the 3 hour mark, I went ahead and I unplugged it and plugged my Wi-Fi back into the grid just to see if my internet connectivity would work. It was instantly better. So whatever is going on with connecting to this, and I'm guessing that it just wasn't supplying a constant amount of power to be able to keep the Wi-Fi running effectively. So unfortunately, I don't think that this is gonna be useful. Now, I might still try it in a real grid down situation. I was plugging in my internet to a larger power station, and I was getting some slowdown as well, but this one was much more obvious. So I think there's just something weird going on with the Wi-Fi. Maybe it's my Wi-Fi, I don't know. But yeah, so as of right now, I'm just gonna go ahead and stop the test because I need the Wi-Fi because I got other things going on. And we're just gonna try to use this unit to do some other things. All right. Okay, guys, I just realized that I didn't catch any footage on my
Okay, 4
results for
hours
the Wi-Fi
into
not
the
working in the last little
test
clip
for
there.
the
What I
River
discovered
3.
was that it was in fact my
35%
Wi-Fi that was cutting
remaining.
in and out, not due to the power
4
station,
hours
but
in. Very
because
good.
the
Running the
Wi-Fi or
Wi-Fi
the
router
internet
and
supplier
security
itself was
cameras.
having problems. I did have a
All
tech
right,
come out
we'll
and get that
check
fixed
back
up, and so
in
then I did
once we
redo this
start getting
test.
closer to the
I
end.
did not capture the beginning footage of the second
All right,
test, but this
5
next clip
hours
will
into
show
the
you
test,
that we are
and
starting
we are
at the
left with
4 hour marker.
16%.
And this
So
is
let's see
again
if
a
we can
new
get a
test, and
6th
the Wi-Fi
hour.
is running just fine. And so we'll finish this test
We are
starting
in the
here.
last 1%. We have 20 minutes left to hit a 6th hour. We are just 20 minutes shy of the 6th hour. 1%. Let's see if it makes it. All right, folks. Just 15 minutes shy of the 6th hour. The Ecoflow River 3 ran out of juice. So that is pretty impressive. 5 hours and 45 minutes. Ran Wi-Fi router and cameras. 5 hours and 45 minutes. Very nice.
All right, there's the results for the security cameras and running the Wi-Fi router. So again, I plan on using something like that in a real world scenario where I would just have this serving as a UPS function to be able to provide backup power to my Wi-Fi router and my cameras. So if the grid does go down, and especially if I'm away from home, then I would still be able to access my security cameras while I was away from home because it's being provided power by the power station. Now, again, I talked a little bit about window of opportunity. Now, how many hours do you get out of this power station running whatever it is that you plan on running? And that window that you've created for yourself to be able to come up with an additional backup or a different setup to provide more long-term power to those items. So if I needed to get a generator hooked up, maybe a larger power station needs to be hooked up, I would have a window of opportunity to get back to those items to then plug it into the larger item. If you are home and you have a larger power station, like I have a larger power station that I did a review on, the Blue Eddy AC180P, so check that out if you'd like. I also did a review on the Ecoflow, I also did a review on the Blue Eddy AC200L, another larger unit. Now, if you have those units and you don't have a way to recharge those units after they run out of power, like you don't have solar panels or you don't have a gas generator, and your grid down scenario happens to be longer than the amount of hours you get out of your power station, something like this could provide power to smaller items while you take your larger unit to another location, let's say to a family or a friend's house, or maybe even your workplace, and you'll be able to recharge your unit there and then bring it back to your home so that you can start powering things at home again. This is going to create a window of opportunity for you to be able to do something like that. Or maybe you have to take your unit outside to recharge it through a generator. Like you have a really short extension cord. Again, make sure you guys have your preps in order. If you plan on running a gas generator on the outside, make sure you have an extension cord that is long enough to reach your power station inside. So that way you don't have to do this because you don't want your gas generator anywhere inside your home, not even inside of your garage. Safety warning, make sure you guys aren't doing that. Carbon monoxide poisoning is a real thing. Make sure you have your preps in order. So again, window of opportunity. So who do I think this is for? I think this is for somebody who is planning on using the UPS feature, someone who needs a little bit of a desk setup that isn't in the home, or somebody that wants more portability and be able to recharge items. So let's say you run a drone and cameras and things like that, and you want to be able to recharge those items off of a power station. This is a smaller power station. You could technically fit this into a backpack if you wanted to take this backpacking, or maybe you just have a small hike, trek into an area where you're going to be taking a lot of photography, pictures, or some video, or doing some drone footage. This would be able to recharge batteries for drones, things like that. Very portable. I mean, the options are kind of endless when you put your mind to it. You can think about things. You can also recharge power tool batteries off of this unit. Now, you won't be able to recharge very many batteries off of this, but let's say you just need to recharge a couple. You're on a remote location for a job site doing some work, and all your tools are battery operated, or at least for your smaller jobs, and then you need to recharge some batteries. You would be able to use this unit to be able to charge those batteries, or even just recharge your cell phone to make sure that you have communication on those remote job site locations. This is going to be for you guys. This is a really good entry level. There is a larger unit to this. It's the Ecoflow River 3 Plus that does offer battery expandability. Again, I touched a little bit on it. Battery expandability is kind of like how you want to do it. You could technically have 2 of these units, and then you would be able to recharge this unit off of that one. But if you had 2 of these units, they would be 2 separate standalone power stations with all of their own individual ports. If you have an older power station that isn't very powerful and you're trying to replace it with this unit, you could still use that older power station's battery to then recharge this unit that might be a little bit more powerful. Things to think about. Anyways, the Ecoflow River 3, nice and small and portable, and can charge things for a long period of time, run things for a decent amount of time. Keep this one in mind when you guys are searching for something small. And again, the sale prices are pretty good. So thanks for watching. Again, the Ecoflow River 3.